Hi everyone, I want to welcome you to this week's episode of the Lesson in 5. The Lesson in 5 is a weekly program where we summarize the Sabbath School lesson into 5 main points. If you're new around here, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. Our Sabbath School lesson for this week is Rebirth of Planet Earth. This week we've gotten to the end of our quarter. That means next week we'll be starting with a brand new lesson. We've been studying the book of Isaiah and we are speaking about a new earth. The good news that we have is that there is hope beyond the grim reality that we see on this earth. God has promised to make all things new. A new heaven and a new earth. Isaiah describes a new reality where things are completely new, where people will build houses and live in them, where death will be eradicated, where we'll grow and live with Jesus forevermore. A lion and a lamb are going to lie down together. A little child will lead them. This is the new world that God has promised to create for us. A world where there is no dog-eat-dog kind of life. A world where we all live together in peace, harmony, and love. Divine magnet. Isaiah envisions a time when many people are going to be drawn towards Christ. As he speaks, he talks about people from all nations coming towards Jerusalem, coming towards God and being attracted to God. God acts like a divine magnet that draws people from the ends of the earth to himself. Jerusalem is not just a geographical location in this case, but rather it speaks about people being drawn to God and their hearts being turned to God. This is something that has already begun to take place. Missionaries and worship leaders. As we study through the book of Isaiah, in Isaiah 66, we hear about God's people being sent to the ends of the earth to proclaim his message. This is a new way of looking at the exile. Not only is the exile punishment for God's people, but it's a way to get the love of God to the very ends of the earth. As these missionaries go, they bring back many converts, many people who have turned their hearts to God. Isaiah sees people going out and bringing many to God. And not only do they work as missionaries, but they lead out in worship. The ultimate thing that God's people do is they become worship leaders where they are. Think about this for a moment. God may have sent you to some place in your workplace, in the neighborhood that you live in, or in your family. God has called you as a missionary and a worship leader. Community of faith. The community of believers is described as a royal priesthood, as a community of priests. This is remarkable because the priesthood initially was just for the family of Aaron. The Levites also had special work that they would do in the temple. And now we see the priesthood being extended not just to the Levites, but to all who believe. First, it was extended to the nation of Israel, but in Peter we discover that we all are a royal priesthood. All believers can be included in this priesthood. We speak about the priesthood of all believers. You and I have been called not just to be followers of Jesus, but to be priests and kings in the house of the Lord. So shall your seed remain. Isaiah speaks about a new kind of reality, a reality where there is no more death, a reality where as long as God's kingdom exists, so the people of God will continue to live. Isaiah wraps up his book with a chilling warning against rebellion. He speaks about the complete destruction of those who rebel against God. The injunction for you today is to choose God, to walk with Him, to love Him, and allow His grace to cover your life so you can live with Him eternally. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Lesson in 5 that wraps up our study of the book of Isaiah. See you again next week when we begin a brand new lesson.